Happy Wednesday, everyone. I am your host, Shamika Rhymes, and this is Soulibration. So please let me know where you are watching from and how you're doing this evening. I know we're all excited about tonight's show. But first, make sure you share this with your network and feel free to drop any questions in the chat because we are going to refer to the chat and throughout the show and grab some of those questions, and my guest is going to answer some of those. So make sure you drop those questions there. So tonight, we are continuing the conversation on breast cancer in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In 2020, Ananda Lewis, the former MTV VJ, host, carpenter, content creator, and my friend, revealed her courageous battle with breast cancer. Earlier this week, she opened up in a CNN interview and shared that last year she found out it had progressed to stage 4. So we're honored that Ananda's here tonight to share updates on her diagnosis and journey and her unique approach to treatment and how she remains resilient through it all. So again, drop in the chat where you're watching from, drop some pink hearts, show some love for breast cancer awareness, or if your phone has the little emoji for breast cancer awareness, the little ribbon, drop that too. Anyway, let's welcome Ananda.
Hi, Shamika.
Hi, Ananda. How are you?
Good to see you. I always love talking to you. Thanks for having me.
No, I love talking to you. I was so excited that we already had this in the works because, I feel like you're always my firsts, right?
Wherever you go somewhere new, you're like, Nanda, come on.
Right.
Let's go.
So as I was saying, you and I go way back. We really do. I hunted you down when I was writing for Shondaland.
We've been it the organic, old-fashioned way.
Right. Exactly. And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
So I want to start off because, a lot of us have seen the social media posts and a lot of us have seen the interview that was shared on CNN's website or YouTube. So, and there's been a lot of concern, questions, all the things. So I want to start it off by asking you, I know I just asked you a second ago, but like a really
real question.
Real question. How are you? Like, give me some good news.
Let me just back up and say I'm super grateful to my bestie, Stephanie Elam, one of the best reporters at CNN. We got to sit down with another one of their greats, Sarah Seidner, who's going through the same thing as me. Hopefully you all watched it. But I could tell, there's no but, full stop. They're awesome. And I had a great time.
Yes.
I could tell that most people did not for themselves go look at the full interview, though, because around 1 o'clock yesterday, my phone went, and I haven't caught up since. I woke up with 56 texts going, what is going on? Mm-hmm. What is happening?
Yeah.
And I think what happened is other outlets took pieces, as they are wont to do. This is media, right? We know eyeballs. We want the catchy headline for the story. Okay, I understand it. I did media 20 years. So they took the pieces of it and didn't tell the full story. You would have had to gone to the actual sit-down conversation to get the full story. And so people are texting me like, oh my gosh, I'm just sending you love. I just hope you're okay. And scared my god babies. Like, it was nuts yesterday and most of today. What I would like to clarify is that last year, like you just said a minute ago, last year, October, is when all the craziness started happening in my body. That's when things got worse. That's when I got elevated, I guess, to a stage 4. Those things sound scary to people. I get it. That was a year ago. Today, I am fantastic. All of that led me to better solutions. And I think I said this in the interview, you have to keep your mind and intelligence open to new things, even things you sometimes may not be down with. And when you're following your body, kind of like I am doing through this journey for myself, you have to listen and you have to do what's necessary. And so shifts were necessary for me over the last year. And even before that, I was constantly shifting, finding new things, trying this, try it for 2 months. Okay, that's not doing anything. Let's shift over here. Unfortunately, that's how the hundreds of thousands of us, I am not alone in this, of us who go after this, getting cancer out of your body, getting your body to stop making cancer. It's what we experience because there is no tried and true path. Everybody's physical body is different. Things that may work for me may not work for you, may not work for them. So you have to be your own guinea pig. You have to do a bit of trial and error. You have to be diligent about looking at new treatments that are coming on board, looking at things that are designed to satisfy, what I want, which is the least harm to my body and the most good, right? So it was unfortunate, even though I understood it, but I'm grateful that it's opened up some really necessary, difficult conversations that a lot of people don't want to have. And I'm here for it. I've been having difficult conversations since Teen Summit. I'm like,
yeah. I forgot to mention Teen Summit.
Well, only my starting ground.
It is great to hear that you're doing fantastic. So
I'm really doing well.
With that said, are you still out of stage 4? I don't know if it goes backwards at all or how that works.
The problem. Even so, they call it a stage 4 when it's gone outside of the original area, right? So as soon as it left my breast, well, maybe not, because stage 3 was lymph. So maybe there's a gradient as to how far out it goes that they stage it. I don't know. A lot of the words, although we get really attached to them, are meaningless. If your body is in distress, the level of distress is only going to matter if it's to a point where you might be about to die, right? I'm not there. Right. So then you have other considerations. But for me, in this process, what I've learned is that my body can go like this, and then I change things and it goes like this again. And then I go, oh, I better change that back, and it goes like this again. There is a lot of play. There's a lot of play. And it's so unbelievably like awesome. And I mean that in the most literal sense of that word. I know we overuse that. It's awesome. No, this is awe-inspiring, awesome, what your body is capable of doing. It blows me away every time I see my body do something else that I was like, I didn't know we could do that. Here we are, and medicine matters. I will never shun medicine. I didn't shun it in the beginning. I just said, not yet. So I think people need to be a little more open-minded. I understand why most people don't get it. But with the numbers growing in cancer diagnoses off the charts, we've never seen anything like this. I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of the people criticizing me are going to have to deal with this themselves or with someone they know. And I hope that when that day comes, God forbid, they are willing to do the right thing for their body and be open to what that might include. Some people are doing conventional and a little bit of integrative. Some people are doing integrative and a little bit of conventional, like I did. But we have to be more open to people making choices that work for them and being okay with it. That's a huge problem in this country anyhow, on a variety of levels, not health, right? We want to ridicule people that aren't like us. We want to smash people to the ground when they disagree. What it shows is that you're not confident in what you believe. If what I believe can shake you so quickly, like, do you really believe that? Or are you just hoping that it's true? Just open your mind and see what's true. Let the fear go, let the panic go, and say, let me look up some studies on the National Institutes of Health. They publish all kinds of great studies on all kinds of things that are killing cancer, cannabis included. And I think it's important that you save yourself from getting here by being aware of the things that get you here, right? And what's ironic is the same way that I'm saving my body from cancer, I guess you can say, or reversing cancer in my body. If I were doing these things 10 years ago, maybe could have prevented me from ever getting here. I just have to double, triple, quadruple down on them now because I have this going on in my body. But the same way I'm getting out of here is how you stop from being here. And that's what I want people to take away. Really, how do you protect yourself from this?
You answered actually one of the questions I had, because I didn't know if you'd seen all the social media comments, like a lot of them. Okay.
I just know people be ignorant sometimes. And they be like, well, it's her fault because she kept the tumor. I mean, what if someone said she kept her tumor and now she's stage 4? I would think some crazy mess too. Like, that just sounds crazy. You know what I mean? So we have to understand nuances and not just jump at the first thing we hear about something. That's just not thinking for yourself. You know, we could solve a lot of problems if people use a little more common sense. And I ain't not in control of it for anyone but myself, but I use it.
I think that's the thing. People have to realize, one, it's your body.
Yeah.
It's your body, and you chose the best thing for you.
I did.
In that moment. And I wanted to go back to 2020 for a second. Because you, at that time, I remember you shared on Instagram that you had been diagnosed. And so I wanted to just go back to that moment when you found out, and what made you decide to open up, because I know that we spoke shortly, I think, well, actually the next day after you posted it on Instagram, we spoke on Check the Rhymes, and you kind of were at that time like, I'm not sure if I regret saying it or announcing it to everyone. So I wanted to kind of go back to that and then talk about now doing this interview and how it opened it up in the social media world, just clamped down on headline.
I mean, the good thing is I heard from people I haven't heard from in decades. So it was so nice to hear from them again. Listen, this is all my fault, right? Because if I hadn't opened my big mouth in 2020, but my heart was and is still in the right place. If I got to go through this anyhow, which I do, because I'm going to live and want to thrive, I might as well share with y'all. I've been sharing with y'all since 1996. Why should I stop now because it's something that other people feel weird about or don't want to talk about? That's the whole point. Let's talk about the things we don't want to talk about. Let's even talk about the worst case scenario people have been carrying around in their minds about me for 2 days, death. Let's talk about that. All of us are dying all the time. I don't even know the right story. Maybe it'll help me remember. 5 minutes before I jumped on here, I just saw flooding social media. Someone died who used to be in a boy band.
Oh, Liam Payne, I think was the name, One Direction or something.
He fell off a third story of a balcony in a hotel. You do not know. Nothing is promised to you and no one owes you a thing. You should be grateful to be in this life. Do whatever you can to hold on to it. But there are so many people saying that who aren't even drinking enough water every day. Yeah, I'm talking to y'all. There's so many people who are still drinking soda, chugging it like it is the water they should be drinking. There are so many people who refuse to exercise. There's so many people who are still smoking and drinking tons of alcohol. I'm guilty of all those things, right? But turn your gaze to yourself because nothing is promised for anybody. And so with that mentality, because that really is how I feel, doesn't mean you're going to do everything perfect. You're still going to have messed up. Okay, life is going to be what it is. Right. But at least if you know, this ends for me at some point. And how do I want that to go? How do I thought a long time when I was stuck in my bed for 8 weeks about what I wanted my death to look like, because I had to, and it wasn't scary. And I was crying, but for different reasons. I wasn't scared. I was crying from the pain, but it's important to face facts. No one gets out of here alive. Yeah. So with whatever time you have, what are you trying to do with it? How are you going to treat your body? Some people say, well, if I'm going to die anyhow, I'm just going to do whatever. Cool. That's your choice. Fine. And some people say, I want the best quality of this I can have for as long as I can have it. That's where I stand. And I knew looking at conventional for me back in 2020, really 2019, when I first went through all of it. Because see, I have a lag in sharing. You heard about that a year later. You heard about this a year later. Because when I have to fix something in my life, I go cocoon. That for me is the best way to do it. I don't want to hear any feedback. The feedback ain't gonna help me. I'm not going to be stressed out. If stressing out would benefit me, I'm happy to do it, but it only hurts me. So I have to use my sense and my control over my mind and my body to make sure I am creating an environment within which I can heal. It's why a lot of people don't hear from me a lot, because I can't do a whole lot of talking and catching up. That has nothing to do with me getting better. As much as I love everybody, it has nothing to do with me improving. And so if I can't focus down on what I have to do, I'm not going to be okay. And that's really what happened in the time where I entered the not okay phase. I was doing so great. And then I stopped being able to access the things I was accessing. A lot of it was financial, to be completely honest. That's when you saw me pivot and try to do more entrepreneurial stuff. And I put out all the stuff. That is me trying to earn money to pay for my treatments and survive. And if I didn't have angels step in and cover things for me, I wouldn't have been able to do any of it. This path is ridiculously expensive. And I know the conventional path is too, but insurance won't touch you this way. You know what I mean? So it's really all on you. And a lot of people have the idea about conventional, well, they're trying to make money. I mean, maybe, but everybody's trying to make money. Like the integrative approach is trying to make money too. They were more expensive than conventional. So none of that is really valid or relevant. It's like, what do you need to do? Figure out how to do it. Buckle down so you can do it. People who have gotten in really good shape at least once in their lives by working out know exactly this process, right? You can do it every single day. You take days off, you feel the difference in your body, and it hurts even more when you start again. These cycles, these processes are common in a lot of different areas of life, and they apply to this journey too. But to answer your question, I still feel like I did the right thing. I need women to learn from my mistakes. I need them to learn from my victories. I need them to learn from my fortitude, that you can be okay. Anyway, you could be okay.
Yeah.
And even if you die, you can be okay, because everybody's going to confront that at some point in their lives. So this is really much more about how you want to live.
I love that, because I think when you hear breast cancer diagnosis, it does go to straight like panic, and then hearing that everybody with their comments and saying, "Oh,
she should have done this." Well, I mean, if you had done that, then you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You don't know what. Listen, there are women who, my biggest mistake is the one I've shared from the beginning, not getting my mammograms. And I still am on the fence about mammograms, as you know. So I'm going to rephrase that and say my biggest mistake was not staying on top of early detection. I could have used 3D ultrasound. I could have used, well, the QT scans weren't available then, but there is better technology now that women can access to be able to see what's going on in their breast earlier. Because no matter how you choose to handle it, once you're diagnosed, getting it found earlier is better for an outcome. Either way, whatever side you're on, your outcome will be better if there's less cancer in your body when you start. Common sense again, right? Yeah. And then there are things that if I'm going to go this route, then I can't do a surgery. That's going to unleash everything in my body. If they're going to do the surgery, they're going to take it all, because why? They can't leave some. That's why they have to get clear margins. There are different philosophies on different sides of it. And until you've witnessed both sides, you really don't have an opinion that counts.
Did you, well, first I have to say this before I forget. When you were talking about the delay, I was like, no wonder she didn't answer my emails and calls back then in October, when I was like, where is she? Did she change her number?
Yeah, I just go quiet when I need to, and it's so necessary. I think if people spent more time quiet, they could solve a lot more of their problems. Just mental health issues, relationship problems, all the problems we have as these little tiny human beings running around the planet for a split second.
Yeah,
we could solve them better if we got quiet.
Be still. That's the message I always hear. Okay, Will Dawson has a question. He says, you talk about that fortitude and the need to isolate for a while, but what about your support system? Please talk about how important it is and how your support system has helped sustain you as you've gone through this. Will must have been looking at my questions, because I had something like that later on. So good thing we're getting to it.
Thank you for the question, Will. I think, it just depends on your personality. I've always been a very introverted person, which is probably weird to hear because I spent so many years on TV in front of millions of people. It's different when it's a camera versus a room. I freak out in a room full of people. I have a lot of anxiety that kicks up. I have a lot of fear that kicks up. I have to really work on myself and breathe. And I'm a very isolation friendly person. And the people closest to me know it and just kind of honor it, because they especially like my mom or my sister, like people who know me my whole life. They have seen that be true for me in almost every instance since I've been an adult. But even as a child, we were just alone a lot as kids. And maybe that's because I'm Gen X and we were latchkey kids and we solved problems on our, whatever it is. That's a very real part of my personality. So the way that the core people in my life support me, like Stephanie, they respect the distance without getting upset with me. They don't stress me out when they return and like, well, you ain't talked to me in forever. But man, you better understand what I'm doing, and they just say, hey, what do you need? They ask me what I needed. They let me answer that question. And if the answer is nothing, they're okay with that too. So holding space, not for what you want, but for what the person going through it needs, is really important as a support person. I love my core, and I see them, way more often now that I'm feeling better, but I didn't see anybody. My sister had to fight me to come visit. And I know she wasn't comfortable with that, but she respected that I have to do things by myself. Listen, I'm doing everything from, depending on where I'm at and things, it changes constantly, like I said, but I'll do enemas every night for a week straight, or I need to lay in front of my red light it depends on what I'm working on. But there are a lot of things I do at home that just require me to be alone. I'm not running around here naked with people here. I'm just not. So there's some things that just by nature of what they are require me to do it myself. Probably my son has seen more than anybody, because that's my baby. He's with me a lot of the time. And he's seen some pretty harrowing stuff that he has grown from and helped me through. And I mean, we've had some beautiful experiences together because of this. Weird to say, it's true.
Thank you for answering that. Now I need to figure out where I was in my questions, because I've jumped all over the place. You you mentioned that you decided to do the integrative. I always keep calling it holistic, but did you kind of do your research on both avenues before you decided on one, or did you just already decide, okay, I know what works for me and my body over here, instead of trying any of that? I know you said, no, I don't want to do surgery. I don't want to do any of that right now. What was your process, the thought process behind all that?
I had watched my mom go through this. She went full conventional. And I had started doing a bit of research then, and also with my cousin when she was going through it. I had started to gather information for them, and it was opening my eyes already. And so the night that I got the call from my doctor telling me, oh, we did find cancerous cells in your biopsy, which, or the biopsy, that's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, my mind.
We'll go back to that.
I had already bought my first full detox program because I knew I felt the lump. Like, I knew there was something wrong, and I knew that no matter what it was, I needed to get this lump out of my body, right?
Yeah.
The same pathway to do either. It's the same. So I was prepared to go down a natural path first and keep my mind open to what else I needed to do. There's no way you know what to do, right? You don't know what to do with conventional. They're going to tell you what they're going to do. You don't know what to do if it's natural or integrative. You need guidance. And so my first couple of months was really seeking out that guidance, doing the research, diving into the rabbit holes head first, and getting lost in these worlds of what else is possible. And not only did it make sense because I believe in the intelligence of our bodies and the creator who designed them, but I also knew what my body had already been through. I did a home birth. I nursed a baby for 3 years. Whenever he got sick, my milk made different concoctions to make him better. I could heal his fever by holding him up. I mean, there are insanely incredible things your body does. We don't acknowledge them a lot. We take these bodies for granted, most of the time. I know I did. And I had to look at the causes as well. And those were, of a list I looked at the time that had 10 things, I had 9. So I was clear that there was a way I got here. And for me, that says there's a way I can get out, as long as I don't damage my body to the point that it can't function like it needs to get out. And that's why I really said no. If they had let me do a lumpectomy, I would have done that. They didn't give me those options. They gave me the options that fit how they treat it. And I respect and understand it. It just wasn't for me.
Did you get a second opinion? Because I know, and this doesn't compare at all, but with my hysterectomy, I went to 3 different doctors because I was like, okay, this one says this uterus needs to come out. I don't like that answer. Let me go over here, over here, over here. And then they all said the same thing, but I wanted to make sure what other options are there. I do that even with my knee when I tore my meniscus. Okay, let me get some other options.
Let me look around. You might not want to do a ginger powder pack if you tore your meniscus, but you might have. I got other opinions. I saw 2 different surgeons. I saw 2 different oncologists. I listened and made my decisions based on facts, and what they told me the outcomes would be, one way or the other. And I'm happy with my decision fully. I mean, listen, maybe a stage 4 metastatic breast cancer diagnosis was a death sentence 10 years ago. It is not these days. There are fantastic medicines. There are supportive things in care you can do for your body. You still can banish cancer at any stage if you figure it out. Like, people's thinking about it is super weird to me sometimes, but I get it. If you haven't gone through it, you wouldn't know. I literally just spoke to somebody today who had pancreatic cancer, who said, absolutely not. He dabbled in some of the things that were going on. He said, nah. And he went to one of the clinics out of the country and is clear now. So you have to look at both sides with equally open minds, right? Because there are successes and failures on both sides. You just have to go with what works for your life. And that's what I'm doing. And it's working for my life. I'm going to tell you, I am more joyful. I am more myself. I am more buoyant. And I know what I can survive now. I feel stronger than I've ever felt in my life. Like, there's so many good things that have come from it for me, from doing it this way. And, I have had some integration of conventional as well. I've done chemotherapy, but tiny micro amounts, right?
Yeah.
Didn't destroy my whole body, but just killed the cancer. And there are really creative things out there. You just have to look for them because they're not going to promote them to you. Why would they do that?
And I think people missed when you said that. Well, if they didn't watch the entire interview,
And they didn't.
They missed that part where you said you have been doing some conventional things.
Yeah. People just don't like it when you don't do things their way. But again, we got to elevate ourselves in this country to get through a lot of the issues where we banish people because we disagree with them. I'm not talking about illegal stuff that we all kind of agree should not be okay, but all the other stuff is like, you don't have to agree with me, but you don't get to disrespect me because you disagree.
That part. Guys, if you have questions, drop them in the chat because Ananda's here and she's answering your questions.
I'm alive.
Yes, she's alive. She's doing well.
Lord. Thank you, Jesus. I'm alive.
On the interview, you mentioned that, some of the tumors were undetectable now.
Yes. The things that in October had flared up on the scan that I ran down to Irvine to get treatment for, I was there for 14 weeks, I think, doing similar things that I did the first time around in Arizona, but wanted to be closer to my baby, who's going to be mad that I called him a baby because he's 13, but he's always going to be my baby. So deal with it. The things that I did there were very effective. And when I hit the pain mode, that was from the bone scan that I had to do. And I think that was just I don't think that had as much to do with like cancer as it had to do with radiation in your bones is going to probably hurt depending on, it didn't work for my body. I know people who've had bone scans and they didn't have the same kind of pain, but this is how my body reacted. And so in the middle of that, I then fractured my hip because my hips were, my bones were a little funny. But again, none of the details matter when you know that I came out of it. Right. When you know that the worst things can happen to you and you can get better. You can recover. That is true for so many things. If you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to put in the effort, because going integrative takes an incredible amount of effort on the patient's part. And I would say more so than going conventional because they do most of the things that have to happen to you. Right. And this way you're responsible for doing most of it. And it's a lot of work and it's hard as hell, but it's absolutely worth it for me.
Can you talk about some of those integrative things that you've been doing? I know one was, I saw the red light and you mentioned the red light therapy. I love when my acupuncturist pulls out that red light. I'm like, thank you.
It's so good. I have a full wall panel. It's like,
I'm coming over.
It's amazing. So I think things like if you follow these body hack people, right? Like I said before, the ways you get out of here from what I've learned are the same ways you can avoid getting here, right? So it depends on your body, what you're willing to do. I know that people are thinking, well, no, it's not the same because you actually have cancer. Well, what is cancer? Cancer is a buildup of bad stuff in your body. Think of your body like a kind of like a river, right? I hate analogies, but I'm gonna try to use one. It's like if stones were put in your river and the water stopped being able to flow, what would happen? You would get growths of all kinds of weird amoeba and algae and nasty stuff that started stinking. This is kind of how cancer functions in our body. So you can blow up the river and then let it settle. That's one way to address it. Or you can try to remove those rocks and start to let that river flow again, because once it starts flowing, it recovers. And that's how your body is. Once you start getting things back right, like they're supposed to be, you can start flowing again and recovering again. And it's a slower process for sure. But for me, it's a more normal for the body. My body understands this process, right? And will do what I get it to do. So that looks like, it could look like a number of things. What I've done have been high dose vitamin C IVs followed by hyperbaric chambers. You want to increase the level of oxygen. Cancer cannot survive in a fully oxygenated environment. A lot of people have that wrong with the alkaline, but doesn't matter. The fundamental thing you got to do is change your diet because sugar feeds cancer. That's been pretty well proven. I mean, even the industries that do chemotherapy, including conventional and the integrative that I have, they know that because they give you the integrative approach anyhow, the insulin potentiate. So they give you a little bit of sugar or insulin to open up the cancer that's going to try to get that insulin first. It's greedy. It feeds itself first on the sugar. And in that sugar, they have the chemo. So they do it in a really creative way that preserves the rest of your body so that you have your immune system intact to be able to keep fighting hard. And that was a huge help for me. I mean, that was probably one of the most impactful things I did. And the reason it didn't hurt my body in addition to the very specific ways that they do it, is because I was also doing all these IVs from, oh gosh, I did methylene blue. I did, I said the vitamin C. There's a whole list of IVs. And, you know, once I go through something, it kind of goes to the back of my brain on the back burner. Curcumin was amazing for me. That's the active ingredient in turmeric. You can get it in an IV. Sweeps inflammation away. And inflammation is one of the biggest drivers of cancer. Yeah. So, and many other diseases. I mean, people have to do their own research and start figuring out what's really going on, because you're only getting part of the story when you're only looking at part of the solution. And as much as I could sit here and tell you every single thing, people aren't going to believe it from me. You know what I mean? Like, well, man, you still at stage 4. Fine. Be sarcastic, whatever. God forbid you ever get to this place and have to go down these roads. Yeah. You're going to see what I'm talking about. And you're going to say, oh my gosh, this might actually work. Oh my gosh, I got to move my lymph. If I were to go back 10 years, knowing what I know now, here are the things I would do. A monthly detox. That could be a fast for 17 hours. You could even be doing a little bit of daily gentle detox by doing some intermittent fasting, which a lot of people do haphazardly, but you could do it consciously and get huge benefits from it. Everybody needs to increase their water. You saw that post from last year from me. Like, nobody's drinking enough water. And I know better, and still it's hard to get in. I drink a lot of coconut water when I'm not doing keto, because that's even better hydration than water. It's H3O2, and that has minerals and electrolytes and all the things your body needs. Your body's really basic in terms of how it's built. But like with any vehicle, when you start putting junk in the engine, you're going to get junk out. It's going to get messed up. And so again, no alcohol. Cut back the sugar as much as possible if it's not fruit sugars. And even then, if you're actively fighting cancer, you don't need a whole lot of those. Lymph movement. Our lymphatic system is kind of like the silent detoxer. We have our, bowel, elimination system, the big one, which is the pooping and peeing. Y'all just be comfortable.
We're all grown. We're all grown.
Gotta excrete the bad stuff, right? And we know, based on everything we see all the time, every day there's a new, now it's black, pot, dish, kitchen utensils. Black kitchen utensils are now toxic and they have forever. Man, I've been using those for 6 years. You know what I mean? You're going, everything around me is going to kill me. Some of that is true, but your body has been designed brilliantly, and you have ways to get those toxins out. Now, if you're not going to the bathroom, you're probably blocked up with a lot of toxins. If you're not drinking enough water, that river is not flowing. That's one of the things that's backing you up. Reduce your toxic exposure. I had to change my makeup. I had to change my skincare. Now I use a skincare that's dang near edible. I mean, I've tasted it just to make sure it was, and it's fantastic. And y'all hear me talking about all the time on my IG, Herbal Face Food. It is fantastic. That's all I have on my face right now. I don't have any makeup on except for mascara, lip gloss, and Herbal Face Food. So
it's about what? You don't have any makeup on? What? No, why do you look like you are still like the girl we were watching on Teen Summit?
I've had to take really good care of myself for a really long time, and it pays off. I don't know. I mean, these things are the anti-aging things. I have an anti-aging course I did. You and I think we're talking about. I was trying to finish it. I'm actually getting worse, trying to finish it, trying to film it before I left for Irvine. So if you buy my course, which actually I've reduced the price because I want everybody to have access to it, it's ageflow.co. But really, it's kind of an underhanded way to talk about cancer prevention, because they don't like you to talk about that and say the C word. So aging and cancer are very closely related in terms of how you take care of your cells and what you can do to turn cellular damage around. All of that matters. But when you let that build up and you're not doing any of the mitigating opportunities you have to reduce the toxic buildup, it's just going to keep growing. And if 10 years ago I knew what I knew now, I promise you, I really don't think I'd have been here. The emotional stress toxins. We're now finally talking about childhood traumatic experiences. There's all these new things. You just have to open your eyes and look for yourself and do the deep dive before you're forced to do the deep dive. That's what I would recommend. If you're out there listening to me and you're in a healthy body, do what you need to do now to keep your body healthy. It's so much easier than fighting to get your health back. I promise you, it's so much easier, but it looks the same. You probably have to do less fasting than me and less detoxing than me, but you got to do it to get that stuff out of your body. You need to make sure you're pooping 2 to 3 times a day. Some people don't go to the bathroom for a week. I don't even understand how that doesn't make you fully sick, like in the moment. I can't imagine, but everybody's got their own experience and the whys and the what. But just understand a little better how your body works, and you'll figure out what you need to do. Move your limbs. That's getting out your cellular waste. Reduce your exposure. Seed oils are horrible for you. Eat healthy fats. Stop eating junk. It's very simple, and everybody's saying it. Everybody's saying it.
Absolutely. So I wanted to go back. I know I mentioned there was two things I wanted to touch on really quick. I know I thought I saw in the comments too about the biopsy. You mentioned how painful that was. So I'm doubling this question up because I know we're running out of time. How did you prepare yourself mentally for this journey? Like you said, the emotional stress is one thing that probably also contributes to all these things, but then the stress of, okay, now how do I get my body back healthy? What did you do? I know you isolated, but how else did you prepare yourself? Were you meditating, praying, journaling? What were you doing?
Oh, all of that. Well, not journaling, but meditating, praying. I had gospel playing a lot. You need to elevate the frequency around you, right? The energy level around you matters. But I think just in my life, and I remember talking about kind of my journey through a TV career too, and saying, and maybe I said this to you, I just kept following what came up. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a strategy. I wasn't trying to get on TV. I just went, this is what life, God, this is what's being brought into my path. I'm gonna follow that. And it's kind of the same for this. Maybe that's just my personality. I look at things and the first thing I think is, how do I solve this? Not, oh my God, I have to solve this. I go right into solution mode. And that's a very, it's a very specific feeling, right? There's not a lot of emotion involved in it. It's very like, let's just get this done. You know, that type A personality that isn't going to think about anything else. I'm going to zoom in on the problem. We're going to fix this problem. So I really didn't do much prep. I mean, other than buying that detox, I was like, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm already okay with, I'm not living, and I used to, so I understand the difference in thinking. I used to live in this, oh my God, what if that happens? But then I'm going to die. You got to get over that part. You're going to die. Let's just admit it, face it, cool with it, whatever. You're going to die. Not today, not like this, right? Because you have control over that part. But 1.5 million people didn't wake up today. That's just the human experience. There's no getting around that. You know, and one day it'll be me and you and everybody listening. But you have some control over from now to then. And you have way more authority in it than you believe.
So as an advocate for breast cancer awareness, and we've talked about the importance of early detection, and we had the discussion, I believe it was last week as well on a panel about breast cancer. What advice can you give to the women that are also going through this right now, like to keep their positivity, to keep them uplifted? And then I keep throwing double questions at you. Clearly, I'm trying to get through my list. But the other part of that is, what do you tell women to make sure they start that early detection, whether it's through this, well, you need to do the self-exams and get your annual mammograms. So how can you encourage them? Because I think you said it on the CNN interview that there's a lot of mistrust with doctors. And I think you even expressed when I spoke to you in 2020 about the radiation and all that, you know, from the mammograms.
Yeah. I think you just have to, again, put your big girl panties on. What you got to do, what you got to do. Those of us who have crossed into motherhood, those of us who have pushed through college, those of us who have, and this is everybody, right? I'm creating a category that is everybody. Everybody has had to push through something to get where they are in their lives right now. Whatever that grit, whatever that tenacity, whatever you used for that, you use it for yourself. It's the same thing. Sometimes you have to silence the blah, 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 and just go, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to do. And I tend to stay away from trying to get people to do stuff. We all got to make our own choices. Yeah. I'm living with the consequences of mine, and everybody's got to live with the consequences of theirs. I hope that women are smart enough to hear from women like me, to see the journeys that other women are taking through this and say, I'm going to do everything I can to not end up there. But if I do end up there, I'm going to do everything I can to be who I want to be at the end of it. Right. Because that's really all you can control. There's so many things you have no authority over. That's the one thing that you're the only one that can control and do anything about. So I think some people like me are willfully stubborn. We're very difficult people to deal with when you're just willfully stubborn. Like, nah, I said no, so the answer is no. My son hates that. So I would say to those kind of people, just take a breath and think. Look at the bigger picture. It's hard. It's hard when you're down there with the trees. You don't get that there's this huge forest and then a road. You know what I'm saying? You can't see the bigger picture, but you can if you focus on trying to do that. You can say, let me just, and this is where prayer and meditation comes in. I mean, get some control over your mind. That's one of the things I did have to do. I had to get some control over my mind. And for me, it was, I was trying to do too many things at once in treatments, right? It was, well, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try them. I'm going to layer all these things. Well, then you don't know what's doing what. Then you don't know what to stop because you don't know what it was that did the thing. One thing at a time. Calm it down. It's okay to go slow. And it's okay to be afraid as long as you don't stay afraid. Let that pass through. Because there's a next level beyond that, that is fight and faith. And that will sustain you infinitely.
Oh. We have a question. A Brown 17 wants to know if you use energy healing methods such as Reiki. I've tried Reiki before, but
I love Reiki. I love Qigong. I've just started diving more deeply into Qigong. I think, listen, there have been societies, I know this is breaking news for some Americans, but there are societies that existed way before us. And Western medicine has only been around for what, 100 years? Maybe. And thousands of years ago, the Chinese were practicing traditional Chinese medicine and healing themselves with plants that we have been given to use for our healing. Most prescription meds, you'll find the origin of them is plants. And so they've been, perverted and to the point that they will make you maybe more sick with the side effects, but sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and do it. What I'm saying is lean on understandings that are broader than your own because most of them are. And if you look at how other countries are treating cancer right now, they are using more things like energy medicine. They are doing even machines. If I turn my computer around, you would see that I have a huge energy device. I sit in the middle of that device. Now that's new for me. I haven't always been doing that, but I can feel the difference when I do it. And raising the voltage of your cells, it's incredibly important. Some of this sounds like Greek to some people, but all you have to do is look it up. Look what Dr. Jerry Tennant says about voltage in the body. Look what Lakhovsky said in the 1920s or 40s about energy healing and how he did heal plants with cancer with frequency medicine. So there are some people who are on that path. I have integrated a lot of frequency medicine into what I'm doing in a variety of different ways, from Rife machines to acupuncture, doing the, meridians and healing. And my acupuncturist is amazing. And that was a fantastic addition that's really pulled me out of that hole I fell into. But there's always something new to do. But yeah, I think energy medicine is super important. I think layering is super important. I wouldn't do energy medicine and not change my diet. I wouldn't do energy medicine and not stay on my selenium and turmeric. I wouldn't, it's not instead of, but I think when you layer and you pile on, you get, for me, the best results.
I love that. Do you have I mean, I know we said earlier we were going to end in 45 minutes, but do you have an extra few minutes?
I always reserve the night for you because I know how we get.
Okay. So, all right. Because I know a lot of people are in the comments and they have a ton of questions. So I didn't want to rush through it without taking some of their questions. So guys, questions.
And I think I said I was answering questions. So cool. And then after this, I'm going back in my cocoon. So it's a good time to answer the questions because I'm probably going to be talking about
better get her now while she's out and being social.
About it a few more times. I do think what I'll do more in the future, and I, have been thinking about this, but I haven't figured out a way how with all the, my time is really, I do 4 hours of treatment at home almost every day. So it's just, there's a lot of time that goes into this. I don't even have time for a lot of socializing with my friends, and that's okay. Because once I'm completely good, I'm gonna throw a party and all y'all gonna be invited virtually. Anyway, I say all that to say that it's really important to, I don't know why I said that, Tamika. What was I talking about when I said, I haven't figured out how to share. So it's hard for me to stay on top of posting, I can't do that. But what I do want to do is start to dig in a little bit to these topics because I do feel like people want to hear it and they need to know. You need to understand how your body functions. You need to know that you can save yourself before being at risk, and prevention is the cure. So I'll start talking about it more, but I'm happy to keep answering questions to see what people want to know.
Okay, there was one that popped up. Let me see. Asia, can you put that back up so I can see that?
Anybody else have a jukebox play in their head that nobody else can hear? When you just sitting there, I'll be like,
all the time. All the time. I'm like always, you know what? I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, because usually somebody will say something and I'll be like thinking of a song and it'll just come out.
Or something. I was about to say earlier, you were like, well, how to do that? I was about to say, I stand on business. That's how I do it. Because that runs in my head a lot for whatever reason.
Let's see this question. And I am so sorry. I think I'm going to just, you know what? I'm not even going to attempt to say your name.
Say it like you can say it. Let's see.
I would say.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
I think it's Shania.
Chania. Okay, because I was about to tear it all completely up. And I can't see.
Yeah.
So is integrative expensive? Does insurance cover some of the procedures?
Yes and no. Let me tell you this. I, again, had angels step in and cover me in the form of human beings who love me and want me on the planet. And they made sure I had what I needed. And it was a lot. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I submitted $78,000 of insurance claims to my insurance, and they reimbursed me about $5,800. So that tells you how much insurance covers, and that tells you some of how much I spent so far. That was just the last time, and that's not including living there. You have to find a place or be in a hotel. All of it costs money. It is. I mean, there has to be some way to support women better who make this choice, because the cost of it is really the most prohibitive part. Honestly, I mean, that's what kept me out of it for a minute. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, I did see a question asking if you were in remission.
No, and they call remission no evidence of disease now. I'm closer to that than I was in October, but I'm not all the way there yet. I plan to be. I just can't tell you how long that might take me, but I'm in it for the long haul if I need to be. I'll do my protocols for the rest of my life if I need to. I look at cancer as a manageable disease, like any other metabolic malfunction disease, like diabetes or some of the other ones that people don't consider them manageable. I do. I always think there's something you can do, but can you take your foot off the brake? No, you got to keep these brakes on this cancer, because it will speed up ahead of you. And that happened to me. So I know it to be true. If you go this way, right? The benefit of conventional is they cut everything out and say that it's all gone. That's never really true, especially if you're upper stages when they find it. But if you can get that early diagnosis and find it at a 0, a 1, or 2, that's very true. They can get it out of you. Fantastic. I know people who have done everything they were supposed to do with conventional and didn't make it. I know people who have done everything they wanted to do with integrative and didn't make it. Both sides have successes and failures, like I've said. So there's no guarantees. There's just do your best and get as far as you can.
Do you think one of the ways that helps is, because I've started the cocooning on the weekends away from social media for my sanity. So does that help, taking a break and maybe not even looking at all the comments people have of their, opinions of what you should be doing, how you should have done it, and all these things?
Yeah.
Will you go back to even reading some of those things, or will you just kind of, when you go back into your cocoon, just leave it, don't even look at it?
Well, I think what's fun I've seen people do is they'll take a comment and put it on their post and respond to it. I might do some of that. That makes posting easy. Like, there's an automatic thing to talk about. This person talking all kind of mess, so we need to clarify and check people. Fine. But listen, I didn't get lied on. I didn't have surgery. I did make choices that I knew people were going to disagree with. People closest to me in my life disagreed with them when I was making them.
Yeah.
You got to be okay with being the odd man out if you want to chart your own path through something. I don't know what to tell you. That's just a part of it. It's one of those things. Listen, there are people who say on the advanced directive, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff with my dad's care right now. We had to do an advanced directive for him. And some people will mark, resuscitate me, bring me back at all costs. And some people mark, hey, let me go. I'm good.
Yeah.
If it gets that bad, we're all just different. The quality of life, what we want out of life, how long we want life, it's all different. And we have to respect that and value that. But more importantly, know what it is for you. And whoever comes against that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people say. It might have been a mistake for me not to have surgery. I don't know. I'm not going to go back and repeat that. Where I'm at now, I'm fine with. And so whatever mistakes I've made, I'm in a great place. It's just like life. You can't spend your time in wishing you did things differently. You will never live. I'm not going to spend time regretting. I understand that people don't get it. They're entitled to their opinion. My grandma said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, keep your mouth shut. But not everybody understands that. And listen, I've been taking hits since 96. I ain't worried about people. I will be here accepting their apology when I'm Ned or when they're on this journey themselves and see how difficult and crazy it can get and finally have some of their own understanding. But I get where they're at. It's okay. I judge people too. I don't mean to, but I do.
I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress.
I'm a work in progress. And so I can accept that other people are as well. I forgive you.
Yeah, one of the things I've seen over and over in the comments is your optimism and just your attitude is just so inspiring. Like even your shirt. What does your shirt say? Faith over fear?
Faith over fear. This is available at Shop Love Ananda. It's one of my entrepreneurial endeavors that supports my mission of supporting my life. I sew. My grandma taught me great things, and sewing was one of them. She really taught me by me watching, but I put the different sleeves on. It's really just a regular shirt that's on my site, and there's sweatshirts and sweatpants. It is my motto. It's like, I don't care what happens. If your faith is in place, if you know what you know, you can lean on those promises and you can get through anything that comes your way. When you get shaky is really when other people's opinions start to tear you down and you start thinking, wait a minute, banish that. And that's how we get to, I rebuke that. I rebuke your opinion because I know what I know. And I know that no matter how this ends, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And we got to wrap our minds around that because we have a very narrow, well, you're only okay if people go as far as you're only okay if you have this kind of car, this much, you're only okay. You're missing a lot of life thinking like that, but that's on you. I'm not going to live like that. And so all I can exude when I'm around people is what's real for me. And what's real for me is joy comes from a deep place. It's so deep that no one can touch it and take it from me. And I know the source of it. So even when I lose sight of it a little bit, I know exactly where to go back and get some more. Right? Hallelujah. So I don't really play those games because I know what I know. And when you know what you know, no one can shake that. I am like a tree rooted. Right. And so whatever comes, one day there might be a storm big enough to knock me over, but I'm going to have weathered a whole lot of the other ones and been okay. And whatever's next, I'm going to be okay there too. Because I have that kind of faith. And that kind of faith allows me to stay joyful in the face of whatever. That's not to say I'm never upset. I mean, ask my child, right? We can but you recover quickly. You go, oh, this is okay, but now it's over. Some people drag on things that have happened and keep it in their present time forever and ever and ever. That's chronic stress. That'll kill you faster than cancer, in my opinion, because you're not even letting your mind be clear enough to deal with what's right in front of you. Still thinking about that thing that happened 5 years ago. What? There are ways to help yourself through that, but you have to let things go. You know what I mean? Like, what you gonna do about it? It happened 5 years ago. Come on now. Unless it's still happening, and then you need to troubleshoot and fix it. But if it's stuff from your past, I wouldn't waste 2 milliseconds on it. You got too much to do right now to protect your joy and to improve your life.
Like I could just sit here and clap because I'm like, I felt that was he was talking to me. He was talking to me. Let it go.
I'm telling you, let it go. Wow. Me and my goddaughters used to one of them sent me that song and said, I remember we riding in your car. I was like, that's my song. Keisha Cole, let it go. You got to use music. Music is that universal unifier for a reason. Music touches everybody for a reason. It's the frequency of sound. In the beginning, there was the word, right? That sound, the frequency of it, the lyrics of it, the upliftment of it. That's why I listen to a lot of gospel and just a lot of positive music. I'll dip down into some dank music too, but my happier place where I more exist is in the music that uplifts me because running around here just praise and in the house singing and I'm a 80s baby. I was about to say I was a 90s baby. You lie. I was an 80s baby.
Close enough.
When I was conscious of music, it was 80s, and I just love playing the things that have always made me feel good. I play a lot of Luther Vandross, Elton Barge. I love him. There's just a lot of music that makes me happy. So your job is to surround yourself with things that make you happy and eliminate the things that don't. And I know that's easier said than done, but when you start doing it, you'll see how easy it is. And people will show themselves for what they are, and then you can make decisions because everybody doesn't belong in the front row of your theater. They just don't. And you're going to have to maybe move them to the back or send them outside to get some popcorn. I don't know what you do with them, but you better be real careful who you have sitting front row, because they will absolutely affect you. Absolutely. It's contagious. Energy is contagious.
You brought the soul to Soulibration tonight. I see a lot of amens and hallelujahs in the comments.
Nothing we cannot do. Let me tell you that much. And you just got to remind yourself of that when you're in it's the fear that comes in. And that's why, that's why we have that God is not the author of fear, because you need to be reminded that's not coming from a place you need to pay any attention to. Yeah. But I really look at fear as just warped energy. You can take that fear and now you twist it a different way and you shift the frequency, and now it's joy, or now it's motivation. You just got to shift it. And by shift, for me, when I have to shift something, I can't give a lot of attention to what it actually is appearing to be. I have to give the attention to what I want it to be, because that's where the transformation ends up. Right? I'm going to keep my eyes on the goal. I'm going to keep your eyes on the prize. I mean, this is not new information. People have been talking this stuff forever, but I do think that our willingness to listen sometimes depends on how much craziness and stress is going on in our lives, right? You get your butt kicked. Now you're like, please tell me what to do. It's the same thing they told you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, last week. But now you're willing to listen because you're stressed out to the point that you're desperate. And all I can say is, that's a good place to avoid, but you also got to have your own path. So if you hard-headed like me, sometimes you got to knock your head against a wall a few times and then you'll get it.
Okay.
And then
any other,
again.
Let's see if we got some more questions, because I want to make sure everybody gets their or a lot of the questions answered, because I saw some good ones float through. Let's see. I'll wait till they pop up on the screen, because I can't.
You'd be really surprised, Shamika, how many people are on this path of alternative treatment. I mean, a lot. And I think they don't talk about it because so much ridicule does exist when you do things outside of what people consider the right box or the norm. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I have a lot of friends in this journey, and we share information and go back and forth, but it's really secretive because people don't get what they don't understand.
Right. Yeah.
So, for all those people doing it integratively, you can do this. You might need to jump over the fence a little bit, grab something you need and come back. I'm on conventional meds and integrative meds right now, or approaches, I should say. It's not really meds and integrative and natural, but the layering is good for you. So open up to it. A lot of people are using off-label meds, right? They're using meds for different things because those medications have been found to be beneficial for other things. I know people that's working for. So you got to shut down naysayers and do you.
That question that was just up was asking if you recommend fasting.
I love fasting. I think fasting, and again, there's some great doctors that talk about fasting. And for my actual body, what I've done and seen, I did a 21-day fast that I definitely should not have done. It was too much for me at the time. But I highly recommend and love, I don't recommend it because you got to do what works for you, but I do intermittent fasting very often. And I'll do like a 17, really a maybe 20 to 24 hour fast on some weekends, because by the 17th hour, you hit something called autophagy. I like to call it autophagy, but it's when your healthy cells are eating up the bad junk in your body. Cancer cells are bad junk. They're eating up the extra nonsense that you don't need. They're getting rid, it's taking the garbage out in a big way. You doing the daily detoxing and the things, the lymphatic jumping on the trampoline, all the ways you need to do. Now you're taking the trash out, but now you got to get the dump truck to come and get it out from in front of your house. Right. And that's kind of what that does. So I definitely recommend it. I wouldn't, for me, I can't overdo it like I was, but I definitely use it as a tool. It's powerful.
Okay.
That's why you see so much fasting in biblical texts or religious texts, really, because it's not just in the Bible, but fasting is a very important part of focus and getting through something, right? So yeah, absolutely. I'm not doing 40 days. I get it.
Me.
I almost killed myself with 21. So.
Let's start with one day.
Yeah, let's start with 6 hours. Some people can't go overnight, without eating. They'll get up early and eat, but I'm telling you, start learning some stuff about how that body works. That body does not need as much food as you think you need to give it. A lot of that is mental.
I saw a question earlier. Hold on, I'm going to scroll back up through here about that you had some misgivings with mammograms. And was it because you thought the results were inaccurate? But I don't think that was the issue, was it?
I mean, that is true. There are a lot of false positives with mammograms, especially with us, with brown women who tend to have dense breasts and the mammogram can't see through everything. So then they send you for a 3D ultrasound. And I say, why not start with the 3D ultrasound? I avoided mammograms because of the radiation. Listen, there's things I'm gonna stand on business on. I stand behind that still because to this date, I haven't had a mammogram. I have skipped now to the wonderful world of PET scans, which is 60 times the amount of a mammogram. So me avoiding those, the radiation didn't make any sense. I didn't know that then. When you know better, you do better. Now, when I have to get PET scans, I do a whole protocol of protecting my good cells from the radiation, detoxing it out of my system. I do it for 5 days before and 5 to 10 days after. And there's a whole regimen now that I didn't know about back then. And so I encourage women to get whatever it is they can access. Not everybody can access 3D ultrasounds. Not all insurance covers it. Not everybody can access the new QT imaging scans that are starting to pop up different places that have been FDA approved. And so if you can't, go with the mammogram, but get the early detection. Do your own research and find out some of the ways you can mitigate the radiation in your body if you're concerned about that. Some people aren't concerned about it. Cool. But don't not do it because of that.
Thank you for that.
You have an alternative. So take the alternative, but do it if you have to.
Oh my goodness, this conversation has been so good. Like, I want you to come back, but I know you're going into your cocoon.
Cocooning in 3, 2, yeah. I mean, I don't know. All this activity is exhausting, even though I'm super grateful for those people who were just concerned. And people are concerned because they love you. And I understand that. And I appreciate that so much. I love that. I love that I'm so loved. That means everything to me. And so I just have to figure out how, from my own energy, resources and output, how I can better manage being able to communicate more with the people I really do love and who I know care about me and who freaked out yesterday when they basically heard old news from last year and I'm already better than, but I explained that to all of the people who reached out to me, and everybody's like, oh, whew, I can't believe they ran with that headline. He's got to understand, headlines. What they do.
Media.
But it does make me question a lot of the stuff I hear about other people now, because I'm like, oh, that might not be true. Because I know they said this about me, and that's not the whole truth. But they weren't lying, but it wasn't the fuller picture that lets you have more understanding, right? And really understand where I'm at today, because I'm not hanging off that cliff anymore. But I'm happy to be a catalyst for these conversations. Like I said, we've been doing this since '96 together, so we could talk about the difficult things. I'm just happy to be in the interview seat these days instead of your seat, because I got real time.
Well, I'm here because of you, watching you on TV, but I told you all that before.
You did. It's so sweet.
So I always ask my guests this question: what feeds your soul? And I have a feeling I might know the answer, but you might surprise me. Who knows?
What did I say last time you asked me this?
I never asked you. I'm just going off. No, I've never asked you this.
Okay.
I don't think.
I mean, if you can't look around you and be awe-inspired by the world we live in, and then take the next step to say, what created this must be incredible. And look at all this. And I'm just little old me. And I don't know. I get a lot of inspiration from everything around me, from my child who's developing so beautifully into this wonderful young man, to my mom, who's such a fighter and thriver. And, she is one of those people that locks down and does what she needs to do regardless. And I respect that so much. And she loves me so much. And our relationship has made this beautiful 180. And my sister, who is a survivor too, who, did everything right. She was someone I should have looked at and said, I need to be like that. It was after mine, but still. My cousin, Tony, who's an 8-year metastatic breast cancer survivor. It is possible to be out here living a long time, even when your body is tripping very badly. And I look at all of those things. My friends, my best friends, I have about 3 or 4 core peoples. And all of it, just listen, being alive inspires me. Do you know what the chances are that you shouldn't have made it here? To be in a human body at this time on this planet, living this life? You better start figuring it out if you don't know, because the joy is in there. The joy is in the gratitude. The joy is in waking up every day when 1.5 million people didn't. And if you're not one of the 3.5 million who are mourning them, you're even luckier. So I just think every chance you have to be grateful elevates your joy and your awe. And for me, feeds my soul.
Oh, I love that so very much. I want to thank you so much, Ananda, for coming here on blackdoctor.org Soulibration and, clearing some things up, because I know a lot of people, I've had people calling me, they're like, girl, and I'm like,
What in the world?
Yeah. Like, nope, she's okay.
First of all, yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Shamika. And I encourage everybody to check out the blackdoctor.org site, because there is so much good information on there. You have to start learning somewhere. And, this is your vehicle. Nobody else can do what you gonna do with it. You are the authority in it, but you need to know how it works to really maximize it. And that starts with information. So start getting the basics. EWG.org is a great place to go. They talk about a lot of the different environmental toxins and how to mitigate them and things you can do. Follow me and I'll start talking more about it too, but just take care of yourself. I know you're really good at that. And I'm so proud of you for always doing what you need to do for your body. I know you've been through some stuff, but we all gonna be going through some stuff. Like, that stuff is how you evolve in life. You can't be here not going through anything. So to everybody going through it, you're gonna get through it. You got to go through it to get to it. So look ahead and see, okay, I'm gonna go through this, but what is on the other side of it? And I promise you it's joyful and better.
Yep. Faith over fear.
Faith over fear. Yeah. Rock it.
Yes. So everybody, for more information on breast cancer, like Ananda, it's like, look at her trying to take my job already. Now head over to blackdoctor.org and check out, all the information and the resources over there. And if you didn't get a chance to check it out, I mentioned this earlier, that we did a breast cancer awareness show last week. That was part 1. Part 2 airs tomorrow. So make sure you check that out. I think it's at 7:00, but double check that by looking on blackdoctor.org's page. And as for me, I will see you guys next week for a Soulibration. And I want you all and Ananda to have a soul-filled rest of the week. And Ananda, whenever you decide to come out of that cocoon, please come back to Soulibration.
I want to say hi to my God babies too. They have been my fuel for joy so much in my life, and I love them, and I know they're watching. So hi, you guys. I have 6 of them, and they're amazing.
Aw, that's sweet. Well, thank you all. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for coming, y'all.
Bye.